Before Lenin became known, he studied the Bible and excelled in God's law. Before Lenin became known, he spent most of his adult life abroad. Before Lenin became known, he was involved in many revolutionary parties. And today you will learn about Lenin's life before he became known. Lenin was born into the family of an inspector of public schools who had Ukrainian, German and Jewish roots. His mother had Swedish-German origins. Lenin studied excellently and graduated from a gymnasium in the city of Simbirsk, which is now named after his family as Ulyanovsk. Later, he entered Kazan University's law faculty. In 1887, his brother Alexander was executed for participating in a plot to assassinate the then Emperor Alexander III. Vladimir Lenin himself became involved in the revolutionary movement Narodnaya Voля at the university. 3 months later, he was expelled for participating in student unrest. After a year, Lenin was allowed to return to Kazan, where he again joined revolutionary movements, studying the works of Marx and Engels. In 1889, his mother acquired an estate. Vladimir attempted to engage in farming, but failed. A year later, the authorities softened and allowed him to prepare for law exams externally. He began studying in St. Petersburg, continued to study Marxist literature and participate in revolutionary circles. Later, he worked as a legal assistant, and at the same time he wrote his first works and even published some. 1895 was a significant year for Lenin. He traveled abroad and met influential revolutionaries, then returned to St. Petersburg and founded his political party, called the Union of Struggle for the Liberation of the Working Class. He began illegal propaganda against the government, was arrested and sent into exile, although Lenin was already a convinced atheist by then. At his wife's request, they were married in a church. At that time, only church marriages were recognized. After the end of his exile in 1900, Lenin continued his activities, expanding his spheres of influence. In the same year, he left the country and moved to Switzerland. During this time, he wrote articles and printed newspapers in large circulations, which were distributed across Russia through underground organizations. Until 1905, he stayed in Europe. A Congress of Social Democrats was even held in London. Shortly afterward, the party split into two movements, which would become known to everyone in the future, the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks. He did not participate in the 1905-1907 revolution, but during this time he visited Russia. By the way, abroad, Lenin constantly used different names, often using the surnames Weber and Richter. Lenin was a supporter of active terror and urged all members of the organization to contribute to it, especially during the period of the First Revolution. The country was engulfed in a wave of violence. In 1908, he returned to Geneva. In 1912, in St. Petersburg, the first issue of the legal Bolshevik newspaper was published, which Lenin was unhappy with. Interestingly, Stalin was the editor-in-chief at the time. When the First World War began, Lenin lived in the small town of Voronin, which was located in Austria-Hungary. He was arrested on suspicion of espionage for the Russian authorities, but was released a year later. Lenin called the First World War imperialistic for the profit of monopolies. Lenin did not expect the revolution in 1917, and when it began, knowing the weakness of the underground revolutionary forces in the capital, he saw it as a result of a conspiracy by Anglo-French imperialists. In the same year, he traveled to Russia, where upon arrival he and other activists faced dozens of cases. However, the case against the Bolsheviks was never completed due to the October Revolution. But you will learn about his role in the famous October Revolution in another video.